February 20th, 1965, 2:03 a.m. Harlem was quiet in the way it only gets when trouble is awake. A payphone rang inside a closed diner on Lenox Avenue. One bell, then another, metal rattling in the cold. Bumpy Johnson picked it up on the third ring. "Talk," he said. On the other end, breathing, fast, controlled but barely. "This is Malcolm," the voice said. "They're going to kill me." Bumpy didn't answer right away. Outside the diner, a black Cadillac idled at the curb, engine low, lights off, cigarette smoke leaking from a cracked window. Malcolm kept talking. "Not tomorrow, not next week, tonight." Bumpy closed his eyes. He already knew the date. February 20th. He already knew the heat in Harlem was wrong tonight. Too quiet. Too many shadows. "Where are you?" Bumpy asked. "Home," Malcolm said, "with Betty and the girls." A pause. "And I can hear them outside." That's when the sound cut through the line. Footsteps, slow, deliberate. Malcolm lowered his voice. "They're not rushing," he whispered. "They're taking their time." Bumpy's fingers tightened around the receiver. Old scar on his knuckle turned white. "Listen to me," Bumpy said. "You leave, now." "I can't," Malcolm said. "I won't bring it to my family." Another sound bled into the call. Metal, a gun being checked. Malcolm exhaled. Long, like he already knew. "They've been following me for weeks," he said. "Meetings, streets, airports. Someone talked." Bumpy glanced at the diner door. The reflection in the glass showed his face, calm, stone still. But his heartbeat said otherwise. "Who?" Bumpy asked. "I don't know," Malcolm said, "but they know my schedule. They know tomorrow." Tomorrow. The Audubon Ballroom. Bumpy said nothing. Outside, the Cadillac's engine shut off. Silence rushed in. Malcolm's voice cracked. Just a hair. "Bumpy," he said, "if they get me, make sure my family's safe." Bumpy straightened. "That ain't how this ends," he said. Malcolm laughed once. Dry. No humor. "You always say that." A door creaked on Malcolm's end. Wood. Old hinges. Betty's voice drifted faintly in the background. "Malcolm, stay back," he called. "Lock the bedroom." Footsteps again. Closer now. Heavy shoes. Men who weren't afraid of noise anymore. Bumpy stood up so fast the chair scraped tile. "You still there?" Malcolm asked. "I'm here," Bumpy said, "and I'm moving." "Then listen," Malcolm said. This never happened." Bumpy stopped. "What?" "If I don't make it," Malcolm said, "they can't know I asked you." The footsteps stopped. A knock. Not loud, polite. "Brother Malcolm," a man's voice said through the door. "We need a word." Malcolm covered the receiver. "They're smiling," he whispered. "I can hear it." Bumpy felt something cold settle in his gut. This wasn't random. This was arranged. The knock came again. Firmer. Malcolm spoke fast now. "Bumpy, if you ever owed me..." A gunshot exploded through the phone. Glass shattered. A woman screamed. The line went dead. Bumpy stood there, receiver buzzing in his hand. Outside the diner, the Cadillac's lights snapped on. Tires rolled. And Bumpy Johnson finally understood something that would change the next 24 hours of Harlem forever. The call was never recorded, but someone else was already listening. 2:11 a.m. Bumpy Johnson didn't hang up the phone right away. He stood there, listening to the dead buzz like Malcolm might come back on the line and say it was a mistake. Like the gunshot was a car backfiring. Like the scream wasn't real, but the sound didn't change. Buzz. 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 Bumpy finally lowered the receiver. For a moment he didn't move. Then he reached inside his coat and pulled out a cigarette. His hands were steady, but his jaw was tight enough to crack teeth. He lit it, inhaled once, and exhaled slow. Malcolm Little wasn't supposed to be scared. That's what people didn't understand. Malcolm wasn't reckless. He was careful. Always checking exits, always changing routes, always watching faces in the crowd. The man had survived firebombs, death threats, and men who smiled while planning funerals. But tonight he'd called another dangerous man for help. That told Bumpy everything. Malcolm had enemies everywhere now. He'd split from the Nation of Islam, publicly, loudly. Burned bridges most men wouldn't dare touch. The speeches got sharper, the crowds got bigger, and the threats got closer. Men used to nod at him on 125th Street. Now they crossed the street. Some whispered he'd gone too far. Others said he'd become a problem that needed solving. Malcolm knew it. That's why he moved his family constantly. That's why he stopped sleeping in the same bed twice in a row. That's why his coat never left his shoulders. But the real danger, it wasn't strangers. It was people who knew his routines, his calendar, his tomorrow. The Audubon Ballroom. February 21st, Sunday afternoon. Packed room. Families, children. A safe place. Or so it was supposed to be. Back at the diner, Bumpy crushed the cigarette under his shoe and stepped outside. The night air hit hard, cold, wet. Smelled like oil and old snow. Big Sam waited by the car, tall, thick neck, hat pulled low. "Something wrong?" Big Sam asked. Bumpy didn't answer right away. He looked down to Lenox Avenue, empty sidewalks, a street light flickering like it was tired of seeing things. "They're moving on Malcolm," Bumpy said. Big Sam's face changed. Just slightly. "Tonight? Now." Big Sam opened the back door. "Where to?" Bumpy hesitated. Because here was the truth he hadn't said out loud yet. Malcolm wasn't just a man in danger, he was a man surrounded. Too public to hide. Too famous to disappear. Too proud to run. And worse than that, whoever was coming for him didn't care if witnesses were nearby. They wanted it loud. They wanted it final. Bumpy slid into the car. "Take me to 165th, he said. "Fast!" The engine roared. As Harlem blurred past the windows, Bumpy replayed the call in his head. Every breath, every pause, every sound behind Malcolm's voice. The knock at the door. Polite. That bothered him most. This wasn't a hit by amateurs, no panic, no rush. Men like that believed time was on their side. Bumpy leaned forward. "Get Jocko on the phone," he told Big Sam. "Tell him to bring everyone he trusts." Big Sam nodded. "Who's behind it?" he asked. Bumpy stared out the window. "I don't know yet," he said. "But whoever it is thinks Malcolm's alone." The car hit a pothole. The jolt rattled the door. Bumpy's mouth curled. Not a smile. Something harder. They're wrong. Because Malcolm hadn't called him for protection. He'd called him for insurance. And Bumpy Johnson hated owing the dead. 2:27 a.m. The car slowed 3 blocks from Malcolm's house. Bumpy didn't want headlights announcing anything. Not tonight. Rain started coming down in thin needles tapping the windshield. Street lights smeared into long yellow streaks. Harlem looked half asleep, but it wasn't. It was listening. "Kill the engine," Bumpy said. The car rolled to silence. Big Sam leaned forward. "You want me with you?" Bumpy shook his head. "Not yet." He stepped out into the rain. Cold soaked through his shoes instantly, the kind of cold that kept you awake. 2 houses down, a shape moved near the curb. Bumpy stopped walking. The shape froze. A man. Lean. Hat pulled low. One hand in his coat pocket. Bumpy didn't reach for anything. He just spoke. You lost?" The man didn't answer. Bumpy took another step forward, slow, calm. "I asked you something." The man swallowed. You could hear it from here. "Just waiting," he said. "For who?" A pause. "My cousin." Bumpy nodded like that made sense. "Funny," he said, "because I've been watching this block 20 minutes. The man's breathing got faster. Rain dripped off his brim. Bumpy stepped closer now, close enough to smell cheap cologne. Nerves. "You're standing on the wrong sidewalk," Bumpy said quietly. "Go home." The man didn't move. That's when Bumpy saw it. Another shadow across the street, then another behind a parked car, 3, maybe 4, all pretending not to look at each other. A net. Bumpy felt the weight of it. These weren't shooters yet. These were watchers. The kind you place to make sure nobody interferes. The kind you sacrifice if something goes wrong. Bumpy backed away without turning around. He returned to the car. "They're already set," Big Sam said. "Yeah," Bumpy replied, "and they want me to see it." Big Sam's jaw tightened. "You want me to—" "Wait," Bumpy said. "That's what they expect." Across the street, a door creaked open. Malcolm's house. Light spilled out onto the porch, a rectangle of yellow in the rain. A man stepped into it. Dark coat, gloves, calm posture. He knocked once more, polite. Bumpy's chest tightened. Inside the house, movement, shadows crossing windows, a woman pulling curtains, a child crying. The man on the porch spoke again, soft, measured. "Brother Malcolm, we only want to talk." Bumpy whispered. "Liar." The porch man glanced down the street, straight at Bumpy's car. Their eyes met. Just for a second. The man smiled. Not wide, not proud, certain. That's when Bumpy understood the second layer of the trap. This wasn't just about Malcolm. This was about seeing how far Bumpy would go. The door opened. Malcolm stepped into the doorway, tall, thin, glasses catching the porch light, his coat buttoned wrong, hands shaking when he'd dressed. "Say what you came to say," Malcolm said. The porch man spread his hands. "You know why we're here." "I know why you think you are," Malcolm replied. Bumpy's fingers dug into the doorframe of the car. He could rush it. He could shout. He could start something loud enough to pull the whole block into it. But that would put a target on the house, on the children, on Betty. The porch man leaned in slightly. "You should have stayed quiet," he said. Malcolm's voice stayed steady, but his throat bobbed. "I've never been quiet." The porch man's hand moved. Not fast, deliberate. Inside his coat. Bumpy opened the car door. Metal creaked. Across the street, one of the watchers shifted his stance. Hands moved. Everything tightened at once. And that's when the porch man said something that made Bumpy freeze. "This ends tomorrow anyway." Malcolm blinked. "What?" The man smiled again. "You'll see." His hand came back out of his coat. Empty. He stepped back. "Sleep well," he said. Then he turned and walked into the rain. The watchers melted away with him. Silence crashed down on the block. Malcolm stood there, breathing hard, confused, alive. Bumpy stayed in the shadows. Because whatever this was, it wasn't the hit. Not yet. And that meant something far worse was coming. 3:04 a.m. Bumpy didn't follow the men who walked away. That's what they expected. Instead, he waited. Rain soaked his coat. Water ran down his collar. He didn't move until the street felt empty again, until the silence stopped feeling staged. Then he crossed the road. Malcolm was still on the porch, door half open behind him. Light shaking slightly like someone inside was crying. "You shouldn't be standing there," Bumpy said. Malcolm turned hard. For a split second, his hand went for his coat. Then he exhaled. "I wondered if you'd come," Malcolm said. Bumpy climbed the steps. The wood creaked under his weight. "They weren't here to kill you," Bumpy said. "Not tonight." Malcolm nodded slowly. "I know." Bumpy stopped. "What?" Malcolm pushed his glasses up. His fingers were shaking now that the moment had passed. "They wanted me afraid," Malcolm said. They wanted me tired." Bumpy stared at him. "Say that again." "They wanted me walking into tomorrow already beaten," Malcolm said, looking over my shoulder, distracted. Bumpy felt it click. The gunshot on the phone earlier, the scream, the dead line. No body, no blood on the porch, no broken door. Bumpy's voice dropped. "That shot," he said. "That was inside the house?" Malcolm shook his head. "It was outside," he said. "Down the block. Somebody wanted it heard." Bumpy's jaw tightened. "So the call—" Malcolm met his eyes. "They wanted you involved," Malcolm said, "or at least aware." The rain picked up. Inside the house, a woman sobbed quietly. A child coughed. Bumpy leaned closer. "Then here's the part you don't know," he said. Malcolm waited. Bumpy lowered his voice. "They didn't just want you scared," he said. "They wanted me watching." Malcolm frowned. "Why you?" "Because," Bumpy said, "if you die tomorrow, they want to know what I'll do next." The porch light flickered. Malcolm swallowed. "You think this is bigger than me?" "I think," Bumpy said, "you're the message." They stood there in the rain. Two men who'd lived too long to ignore patterns. Malcolm broke the silence. "You hear what the man said?" he asked. "This ends tomorrow anyway." Bumpy nodded. "That wasn't confidence," he said. "That was scheduling." Malcolm's face tightened. "So tomorrow's the real play?" "Yes." "And tonight?" Malcolm asked. "Tonight was rehearsal." A car passed at the end of the block. Too slow. Bumpy watched it until it disappeared. "Go inside," he said. "Pack nothing. Take the family somewhere else." Malcolm shook his head. "I speak tomorrow." "That's exactly why," Bumpy said. Malcolm stepped closer now. "I won't hide," he said. "If I don't show up, they win without firing a shot." Bumpy studied him, really looked at him. Thin frame, tired eyes, fire still burning underneath. "You already know," Bumpy said, "that showing up means they'll try again." Malcolm didn't answer. He didn't need to. Bumpy sighed. "Then here's the twist you won't like," he said. Malcolm raised an eyebrow. "I already know who's helping them." Malcolm stiffened. "Who?" Bumpy hesitated just long enough to make it hurt. "Someone you trust," he said. "Someone close enough to know tomorrow's layout." The words landed heavy. Malcolm's mouth opened, then closed. "No," he said, "you're wrong." "I'm not," Bumpy replied. "And I didn't figure it out tonight." Malcolm's voice rose slightly. "Then why not say it earlier?" "Because," Bumpy said, "I needed to see if they'd pull the trigger." Malcolm stared at him. "You let this happen?" "I let them show their hand," Bumpy said. "And they did." Malcolm's breathing quickened. "Say the name." Bumpy shook his head. "Not yet." Malcolm stepped back like he'd been slapped. "You think I'd stand on that stage knowing—" I think," Bumpy cut in, "you already know. You just don't want it true." Thunder rolled in the distance. Inside the house, Betty called his name. Malcolm turned toward the door. His shoulders sagged just a little. "You're asking me to walk into a room where someone wants me dead," he said, "and smile." Bumpy stepped closer. "I'm telling you," he said. "You're already walking into it." A beat. Then Malcolm said quietly, "Then what are you going to do?" Bumpy looked back down the street. The watchers were gone. The trap was set somewhere else now. "I'm going to Audubon," Bumpy said. Malcolm snapped his head back. "You can't." "They won't expect me," Bumpy said, "and they'll be watching you." Malcolm's voice dropped. "And if you're wrong?" Bumpy met his eyes. "Then tomorrow ends different than they planned." Lightning flashed. For a moment, Harlem lit up like a photograph. 2 men on a porch, one walking toward a speech, one walking toward a reckoning. And neither of them knew yet. The real weapon tomorrow wouldn't be a gun. It would be silence. Sunday, February 21st, 2:42 p.m. The Audubon ballroom smelled like coats drying and nervous sweat. Folding chairs scraped wood floors. Kids whispered. Men checked watches. Women adjusted hats. Everybody waited. Malcolm stood backstage, tying his tie for the 3rd time. His hands were steady now. Too steady. Bumpy watched from the back row, hat low, coat buttoned, blending. The gun on the table near the stage looked ordinary. Black steel. Nothing special. Security's idea of comfort. Bumpy hated it already. Malcolm stepped out. Applause rolled through the room, warm, honest. Malcolm raised a hand. It quieted. He leaned toward the microphone. "Assalamu alaikum." Movement. Front row, left side. A man stood up too fast. Chair tipped. Loud. Wrong. Bumpy's eyes locked on him. Hands shaking. Coat opening. Another man rose behind him. Then a third. Not rushing. Coordinated. The first man shouted something, words swallowed by the room's sudden breath. A shotgun appeared. Bumpy moved. He didn't shout. Didn't run. He knocked over the table instead. The gun on it clattered to the floor, empty. Click. Nothing. The man with the shotgun fired anyway. The blast tore the air. People screamed. Chairs flipped. Bodies dropped. But Malcolm was already moving, down, not back. Bumpy had told him to do that, once, quietly, months ago. Another shot. Smoke filled the room. Bumpy reached the front row as fists flew. Men tackled the shooter. A woman hit the floor hard. Blood streaked her sleeve. The second man froze. He hadn't expected chaos. He'd expected order. Bumpy grabbed him by the collar and slammed him into a chair. "Who sent you?" Bumpy hissed. The man laughed, high, cracking. "You're late," he said. "This was supposed to be clean." Bumpy's knuckles drove into his mouth. Teeth clicked. "Who?" Bumpy said again. The man spit blood. "Doesn't matter," he said. "He was the target." Bumpy leaned closer. "No," he said. "You were." The man's eyes flicked past him toward the stage. Bumpy turned. Malcolm stood there, alive, coat torn, glasses gone, eyes burning. The room was a mess. Screams, sirens outside now, feet pounding stairs. But Malcolm was standing, and that wasn't the plan. The third man ran for the exit. Bumpy didn't chase him. He let him go, because someone else was watching that door. Big Sam stepped out of the aisle and blocked it. One punch. The man folded. Silence rushed back in, broken only by crying and coughing. Police flooded the room. Hands went up. Bodies were dragged. Bumpy melted back into the crowd. As officers swarmed the stage, Malcolm's eyes scanned faces. They found Bumpy, just for a second. Malcolm nodded. Bumpy tipped his hat. Outside, sirens wailed. Snow fell in dirty clumps. Bumpy walked away. Behind him, the story would change. Details would blur. Blame would scatter. But one thing was clear. The men who planned a clean ending got something messier. Malcolm lived, and someone else would pay for trying to write his last line. 3:18 p.m. The ballroom looked smaller once it emptied. Chairs lay overturned like bones. A shoe sat alone near the aisle. Blood dotted the floor in dark, uneven coins. Police voices echoed off the walls, sharp, official, already rewriting the afternoon. Malcolm sat on the edge of the stage now, coat gone, shirt torn at the shoulder. Someone pressed a towel into his hand he didn't remember accepting. His ears rang. Not from the gunshots, from how close it came. A detective leaned in, gray suit, flat eyes. "You all right, sir?" Malcolm nodded once. "Who started it?" the detective asked. Malcolm looked past him. At the door, at the space where 3 men had stood, and where one was missing. "I don't know," Malcolm said. That was true enough. Across the street, Bumpy Johnson stood under a busted awning, rain soaking the brim of his hat. He didn't light a cigarette. He just watched. Ambulances came and went. Witnesses cried. Stories split apart in real time. A woman screamed that she'd seen everything. A man swore he'd seen nothing. Another said the shooter acted alone. Bumpy counted heads, one missing. The runner. That was the cost. Big Sam approached quietly. "One slipped," he said. "I know," Bumpy replied. "You want him?" Bumpy shook his head. "Not yet." Because the runner wasn't the threat. He was the receipt. Inside the ballroom, Malcolm stood as officers finally stepped back. His hands were steady again. But his face had changed. Not fear. Calculation. He walked to a cracked mirror near the hallway, looked at himself, adjusted his tie with shaking fingers. For the first time all day, he smiled. Not relief. Understanding. Outside, a reporter shouted questions. Cameras clicked. A microphone nearly hit his chest. "Mr. X, was this an assassination attempt?" Malcolm paused. He glanced down the street, just once. He didn't see Bumpy, but he felt him. "I'm not afraid," Malcolm said calmly, "and I'm not finished." That night, Malcolm didn't go home. Neither did his family. Safe houses shifted, routes changed. Phones rang and rang and rang. And somewhere in Harlem, a man who'd helped plan the attack realized something had gone wrong. The wrong man survived. Bumpy finally turned away from the ballroom. He stepped into the rain, coat heavy, shoes soaked. Tomorrow, the city would argue about what happened. But tonight was simple. Someone had tried to make a statement. Instead, they'd expose themselves. And Bumpy Johnson never forgot a face that ran. That night, Harlem didn't sleep. Windows stayed lit. Radio stayed on. People spoke in half sentences and full fear. Everyone had their own version of what almost happened, but nobody missed the truth hiding underneath it. Something had failed. A plan that was supposed to end clean didn't. The men who ordered it expected a body, a headline, a final photograph. Instead, they got noise, confusion, survivors. And that's worse. Malcolm understood it before sunrise. Surviving didn't make him safer. It made him dangerous. Because now he knew 2 things for certain. Someone close had helped set the table, and someone powerful wanted it finished. He didn't name names. He didn't shout accusations. He watched. Across the city, Bumpy Johnson did the same. Different worlds, same instinct. The runner, the one who escaped, didn't leave town. He couldn't. Running would confirm everything. So he stayed close, quiet, pretending nothing went wrong. That was the mistake. Because silence cuts both ways. A week later, doors stopped opening for him. Bars went quiet when he walked in. Old friends stopped returning calls. No threats, no warnings, just absence. And in Harlem, absence is a verdict. Malcolm went on speaking. But his eyes changed. His pauses grew longer, his words sharper. He knew the next attempt wouldn't rehearse. Bumpy knew it too. The call at 2:03 a.m. was never recorded. No wire, no transcript. But its echo stayed. A reminder that survival isn't the end of the story. Sometimes it's the most dangerous part, because when a man lives through his own ending, someone else has to carry the cost. If this shocked you, wait until you hear who paid that price next. Drop a comment. Would you have still walked onto that stage? And subscribe. Because Bumpy Johnson's most dangerous enemy wasn't a gangster. It was someone nobody expected